Here we have episode 2 to install a 2000 watt power inverter. And here's the inverter itself. And just to zoom in here. Okay, so there's 3 outlets. And also you got your breakers, reset buttons here. You also have a USB output. And this little one here is to connect the switch here. The unit also came with 2 18-inch power cables to hook up to the battery. And I got a little ahead of myself. I already got them sort of installed. And also show you, I also bought a disconnect switch so I could disconnect the power inverter from the battery, even though we got this remote switch here. Now, one of the things about getting a power inverter, you really need to have, they call this a remote switch here. It comes with a 20-foot cable, so you can install it just about any place. This allows you to turn off the inverter, because even if the inverter is not using any AC, it's still taking up circuitry power, and so it will drain a battery down. So you need to have this, any power inverter you buy. There's several makes and models out there with remote switch. I wanted a direct wired one, and so this is what I end up getting. Here is the inverter installation, all hooked up and mounted. It's 2000 watt inverter, converting 12 volts DC to 110 AC. Now, to mount the inverter, I ended up using a 1x2 over here and on the other side, and a piece of plywood in between. I had 2 pieces rather than put one whole big piece in there. That worked out pretty well. You have to mount it away from the back here. You got a blower back here to exhaust and cool down the inverter. So you want to have that some distance there. And for this little guy here, this is the, and it goes all the way over there through the wall and then up through the cubby. And that's the remote on-off switch. So you can turn the inverter on and off. And you should keep it in the off position if you're not using any AC, because the electronics on this thing will draw the battery down over time. So now, as far as the connections to the actual inverter to the battery, what I have here is I have a disconnect switch. I'm not a fan of hooking up any appliances to batteries without a disconnect switch. So we have this disconnect switch here. And we run one side of the inverter to this side over here of the disconnect switch. And then on the other side, we've got a cable, goes through all the way over here to the positive terminal on the battery. Now, the shorter cable, I ended up using the one that came with the inverter. And then for the negative side, it's right here. And I drilled a hole, it's underneath that disconnect. You see it over here coming through. And ran that over to the negative side of the battery. So I ended up using that one short cable from the inverter to the disconnect. And then I have 2 longer cables that I bought. Mine are 4 feet long. I'd rather have more length so I can have more room to move things around. So that worked out really well. What I have here is I decided to put an inspection window on the top cover of the battery compartment. What we have here is I already cut the hole right here for the inspection window. Over here is some plexiglass I got off Amazon. I've got some high-tech sealant, and I had to use this knife here. Make sure you put a sharp blade on it, and you can cut that plexiglass. It's really thin type of thing. Here it is right here. And right now it's still got the covering on it, so when I take the cover off of the plastic, then it'll be clearer and I'll be able to set it over here as the inspection window. So I'll end up screwing that in. And so working with plexiglass, actually it goes this way, like that. Working with plexiglass, you can drill it. You gotta use a very small drill. I end up buying these at Harbor Freight. It's a high-speed steel step bit, and they're nice to use with plexiglass so it doesn't crack. So I'll end up assembling this, and then button up the inverter build, and put this top on, and we'll move from there. Okay, I have everything buttoned down, and here's the inspection window, which is sort of nice. I can take a look at the terminals, make sure everything's okay, and the battery box is buttoned down, and there's your cable for the remote. Remote is up here. So let's plug a few things in, see how she operates. Okay, here we have our little air fryer on the left. It's running right now. It's 1000 watts, and the toaster is 750. Individually they run fine. I believe my battery is a little on the low side, so when I put the toaster on, it did start beeping as an alarm, but then it shut off and then it started again. So I'll have to play with that a little bit more. We plan on using it for our coffee maker, our little air fryer here, our toaster, charging our laptops, charging our cell phones, charging our pads, charging some batteries up for my tools. So obviously I'm plugged into the unit over here underneath the bench. Quite an easy solution would be to plug an extension cord in to the inverter, and then over on the side here, drill a hole and get a 3-foot, 6-foot extension, and with a power strip, and that's an easy way to provide your power inside your little guy Max. Episode 3, I actually am going to show you how I plan on wiring into the little guy Max without using the extension cord with a hole in the side there, but that's an easy way to do it. Underneath in the description is going to be all the parts that I used with links, and so we'll button this up here. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, because when you subscribe you'll get the next link for when I post the episode 3 wiring of the little guy Max. So have a nice day. Thank you for watching.